Welcome back to Race Report, everyone. Today we are talking about Pierre Gasly. And you might be thinking, ooh, I've seen a lot of videos about Pierre Gasly lately. Has there been some news? And actually, the answer is no, not to Gasly himself, but there has been news of moves around the paddock, essentially, which do directly affect Pierre Gasly, or, well, rather indirectly affect Pierre Gasly right now, but could directly affect him. So what is that news? That's what we'll start off with. And the first bit that really affects him is the fact that Red Bull have signed Sergio Perez to a new contract, keeping up the team for 2 more years, which really does affect Gasly, right? Everybody assumed that Gasly would get a second shot at that Red Bull seat once Perez moved on. Perez is not moving on, which means Gasly's not going to get a second shot at that seat, which does directly affect him, right? The second bit of news comes from McLaren and Daniel Ricciardo. The fact that they've both said they're not happy with their partnership right now, things need to improve, and kind of a small tease that that relationship could end sooner than the contract states. So how are contracts shaping up right now? That's the next question, I guess. Gasly's contract comes to an end at the end of this season, so a lot of people, myself included, expected him to get a new one, but with the Red Bull team, the full Red Bull team, the proper Red Bull team, in place of Perez. However, now we know that's not happening. They could, of course, offer him another AlphaTauri contract. However, I don't know if he'd like that. He wasn't particularly thrilled about signing the current one, let alone the next one. Obviously, Perez is now signed up to 2024 in Red Bull. That's all locked down. Obviously, Max Verstappen way beyond that. I think 2028 it's his date now. So no seats at Red Bull for a couple more years. And with the announcement of Ricciardo potentially going, his contract did come to an end at the end of 2023. So he's still got time on that as well. But they did say they could get out of that earlier, potentially. And you might be thinking to yourself right now, why is he talking about McLaren? What do they have to do with anything? Well, it all comes down to Gasly's options. The reason why he's at AlphaTauri after his stint at the Red Bull team is because he didn't really have any options for a team better than that at the time. So he signed for AlphaTauri, and let's face it, he's been a stud at AlphaTauri. He's been one of the best midfield drivers, for these last couple years, even getting himself a race win in one of them. So he's been a stud. He's been a bit anonymous this season, but perhaps we can probably blame the car for that, right? We know he's great. So he's looking for a drive better than AlphaTauri. Red Bull is now locked off to him. Ferrari is locked off. They've just signed Carlos Sainz to more years on theirs. Mercedes are also locked off, so McLaren is the next best thing. And from McLaren's perspective, if they are willing to move on from Daniel Ricciardo, they'll want somebody pretty skilled to go up against Lando Norris and really try to push them into this title fight if they can. Now, I did touch on Mercedes there, very, very slightly, and you might have seen a few rumours popping up of maybe Gasly could go to Mercedes. And you're not wrong, honestly. We have seen signs and hints and rumours of Hamilton's exit from the sport ever since Abu Dhabi last year. Obviously, he wasn't happy with that situation, talked about retirement, came back this year, but the car's not been good enough for a title challenge, so the rumours have persisted about a potential retirement. And if he does, wow, Gasly's going to be the man, right? Surely. Unless they go poach somebody out of a contract, which, could happen, has happened, would never rule it out. But being the free agent, Gasly has pole position for that seat, right? So there is potentially some kind of aspect that could work there. As with always with these things, it's always a who's going to end up where situation. He could end up at McLaren. He could end up at Mercedes. He could still stay at AlphaTauri. Who knows right now? I imagine it's going to be a busy summer for Pierre Gasly. And it's going to be a busy summer for the teams as well. Obviously, they've got to make sure that they're comfortable with the idea of Gasly. Obviously, we know he's a stud in the midfield, but he has had a chance at a top team, and he did not do well there. Let's not forget that. Obviously, he wasn't given a lot of time. He wasn't given a lot of patience. But Red Bull consistently overlooked him for promotion since dropping him back. even though he's been a bit of a stud. They have publicly talked about the fact that they found him to not take feedback very well in their car. So there's that as well. These are all the things that the teams are looking at, like temperament, like the ability to take on feedback, the ability to be a team leader, all that stuff. And that's the stuff that Red Bull found wanting in Gasly when he was in that team. And it's clear they still think that he doesn't have it. Otherwise, he'd be back in that seat, right? They wouldn't keep Sergio Perez. They wouldn't have signed Sergio Perez in the first place. They would have Gasly back in that seat. There's something to be said there. So it'll be an interesting development regardless where he ends up. But what do you guys think? Where do you think Gasly could end up next season? Is there any kind of like places you'd love to see him? Let me know in the comments. Let me know over on social media at Race Report Pod, and I will catch you in the next one.